What is up, fellow nerds? It's me, your average film critic here, and today we're going to talk about the X-Men Days of Future Past, which is, of course, the 7th entry in X-Men, the third one that is directed by Bryan Singer. So in X-Men Days of Future Past, you have Wolverine, who is sent back in time from the not-too-distant future to the 70s in order to basically save the future. And this story is, of course, adapted from the famous Chris Claremont run on X-Men. So in X-Men Days of Future Past, you, of course, are blending the casts from X-Men First Class and then the first three X-Men. You get Professor X, you get Magneto, you get Wolverine, Storm, Iceman, Kitty, Colossus, and then you also get new characters such as Sunspot, Blink, Warpath. There's one more. Bishop. And with the time travel aspect, you also have the X-Men First Class cast, which consists of young Charles, young Magneto, Mystique, and then Beast. All of the actors do a fine job with their characters. Hugh Jackman, as you would guess, is good as Wolverine. What really stood out to me, though, was Charles, James McAvoy's performance as Charles. In First Class, kind of felt not really believable as Professor X, if you know what I mean. He just seemed too cocky and too young, I guess would be the word. And this one, he seems more down to earth, kind of like, this isn't a game, this is real life, and stuff is pretty messed up right now. With him, you get the best performance I've seen for Professor X. Patrick Stewart, of course, does a good job with what he has done before. This one, everything was more personal to him. His relationship with Raven and Eric were both very, very well done, and I applaud the writer Simon Kinberg for that. And another standout to me was, of course, Michael Fassbender as Eric. Plays the character so good. I just love seeing him just on screen. He's like, he's kind of a badass, if you know what I mean. What they ultimately have to do is prevent Mystique from assassinating Bolivar Trask, who is played by Peter Dinklage. His performance was good. The time travel part of the story is told really just straightforward and well. Like, it's explained in just a few lines of dialogue, and you're like, that makes sense, and I get it. And you really do. The big thing that everyone is talking about right now is how Bryan Singer ultimately erased all the other movies, if you catch my drift. Basically decided that X-Men 1, X2, X3, and Wolverine and the Wolverine just did not happen at all. The action was okay. It wasn't mind-blowing like everyone is saying, but I didn't expect it to be, just because they had so much more to go through with the story and the time travel and the characters and all that. Getting all the character moments down on paper, and then doing the action set pieces, which are good. They are pretty good. They are up there with the best I've seen this year. The only thing is they showed a lot of them in the trailers. And then another thing I felt like they should not have showed anything of until the movie came out was the Sentinels themselves, because they are menacing creatures, and they would have been even more menacing if you had just seen them for the first time on that screen watching the movie. I would give X-Men Days of Future Past a full price midnight screening. This has been the Average Film Critic here, giving you my first movie review of my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, be sure to come back tomorrow and hear me talk about me, give you a little bit about who I am and my whole setup behind me, and maybe even skim through my movie collection real quick. I got kind of all over the place in here. And so, do subscribe if you want.